Welcome to Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richheimer. We are in the middle of The Queen's Gift, chapter number 13, and we're on page 325. Here we go. I'm going to read. Usually I read for about 4 minutes. I'm going to read about 5 minutes because I want to make sure we finish in time. Okay, here we go. The big mistake about respect. The Rambam teaches us a husband should be like a king in his wife's eyes. She should have a certain awe. Her actions should be according to his will. He should be in her eyes like an officer or a king. She should follow his desires, and she should create distance in her home from anything he doesn't like. Thus, there will be sanctity in their relationship, and their home will be beautiful and praiseworthy. Chazal say that a husband is like a king. A king is concerned and responsible for his kingdom. So too, a husband is concerned and ready to take care of his kingdom. His kingdom is his wife. Just as a king without a country is not a king, so too a husband whose wife does not view him as her king is not a king. His malchus is dependent on her. When I finally decided to take the words of Chazal to heart, the message shook me to the core. Everyone I knew, including myself, was making a big mistake about respect. We were all waiting for our husbands to be worthy of our respect, and then we would respect him. But this is completely backwards. A man can never be worthy of respect until his wife respects him. What makes a man respectable is our respect. Only when we respect him will he be able to rise to our good opinion of him. The shocking secret is that respect for our husband is granted, never earned. Only when we crown our husband king will he be the king. This turned everything I ever knew about respect on its head. But this viewpoint has proven accurate for 3,000 years worth of relationships. On top of that, hundreds of women in my classes have shifted their viewpoint on this and report a marked change in their husband's feeling of worth, not to mention their own level of contentment that came along with it. Understand this. We spend our whole childhood longing to grow up to marry a man we can look up to. Then we get married and spend all of our time knocking him down. In order to turn this all around, we need to realize that if we keep waiting for our husband to earn our respect before respecting him, he will unfortunately sink lower and lower until there's almost nothing left to respect. I know we may never really have been taught how to do this before, but the fact is, only if a woman builds her husband up will he be great. A wife makes or breaks her husband. A man is a shadow of himself until his wife crowns him king. Until then, everything he attempts is done half-heartedly for fear of failure. Thus, because he is not giving it his full effort, things often turn out poorly, feeding into a vicious cycle as his paltry results are met with disapproval. Without a wife to bolster him, a husband has little confidence in his own abilities. But it all starts with the wife. She is the one who makes or breaks him. The Vilna Gaon teaches us that there's a difference between a title melech, king, and moshel, ruler. A melech is crowned and accepted by the people, whereas a moshel rules his subjects by force. Therefore, it is clear that since a husband is compared to a melech, he must be crowned. That is the queen's gift, crowning her husband as king. Your husband was not born a king. Only you can make him your king. If you make him your king, he will make you his queen. If you treat him like a king, he will treat you like a queen. There is no other formula. There is no other method to get there, and only you can begin this process. It does not and cannot start with the man. As we see from Chazal, it starts with you. In the last half-century, society conspired, quite successfully actually, to pull men off their thrones. Everyone thought it would be better that way. Yet we are now left with no earthly kings to guide us, to comfort us, or to cherish us. Our husbands are sitting before us. They are just waiting for us to place a crown on their heads, which only we can do. Only then can they be everything we've always wanted them to be, and perhaps more. But it hardly seems fair. Why should we be the ones to humble ourselves to raise them up? Why didn't Hashem make it so that our husbands must be humble themselves to raise us up? This, I'm sorry to say, we may never understand. But from Rabbi Yitzhak Abuhav, we do know one thing with absolute certainty. If we show our husbands respect, they will shine in all their glory. We must therefore examine and eliminate whatever might prevent us from crowning our husbands as our kings. Getting past resentments. Even though we're likely eternally grateful, sometimes subconsciously, for all of the good things that our husbands contributes to our marriage, like stability, emotional support, companionship, livelihood, kindness, tolerance, encouragement, advice, laughter, strength, and warmth. Even so, in some cases, we might find that after all of the times that our husband has been insensitive to us, harsh with us, perhaps even unjust at times, it seems too difficult to ignore all of that and establish him on the throne and coronate him. How do we forgive him for so many years of what we regard as insults, slights, inattention, thoughtlessness, inconsideration, callousness, stubbornness, flare-ups, unfairness, laziness, hurtfulness, insensitivity, criticism, ridicule, anger, or worse? Are we meant to just take a strong hose, wash the slate clean, let him get away with everything, go scot-free? As if he would ever do that for me. We might say with reasonable certainty that our husband is in no way deserves our forgiveness for all of the injuries we have suffered because of them. But worse, they don't even begin to comprehend the extent of the injuries, nor are they even asking for our forgiveness. Yet, if we took the time to explain every slight we've endured, they would listen with half an ear and likely deliver perfunctory and insincere apologies. How insulting and pathetic would that feel? So what are our choices? We can continue to withhold crowns from our husbands because that might be justified after all that they've put us through, but that neither provides us with kings to look up to, nor does it make them pay for all that they've done. So are we truly meant to ignore all those years of poor treatment? How can we be expected to perform such enormous acts of selflessness? How can we direct our own minds to really let go sincerely? Isn't letting go of everything completely impossible? These comments may be a bit overboard, as you may not harbor this much resentment in your marriage. But for people who do, even they need to understand that getting on the other side of those resentments is crucial to getting to harmony in the marriage. There is one guiding light to lead us out of this confusion. The Rabboni Shalom never asks us to do anything we aren't capable of doing. The Torah guides us past our resentments and crowns our husbands as kings, even if they do not deserve it. We must be greater than we think we are. We must be big enough to do this enormous act of chesed, both for our husbands and for ourselves, because doing so is the only way of getting what we truly want, husbands that we can look up to and respect. Okay, last section, granting respect is oxygen. If there are some issues or injuries that you feel it would be incredibly difficult to get past, now is the time to get help from a Rav, a Rebbitzin, a trained therapist, or even a wise friend. Make sure that they know your intentions in speaking with them is to get past the issue, not to rehash old news that is going to trap you in a quagmire of negativity. You really need them to help you to learn how to get beyond your hurt feelings. In some cases, the only way to get over the pain of resentment is to discuss it with your husband. But take this route only if you have a successful track record of extremely fruitful conversations. A fruitful conversation means that each person feels heard, acknowledged, understood, and forgiven. If the conversation will devolve into painful rehashing of every problem you've ever had, do not even attempt to discuss these resentments without a therapist, Rav, or other third party involved. Why have more discussions that will lead to more resentment? The point is, having the ultimate goal of being married to your king will be a great impetus for you to move forward, leaving all the debris of miscommunications and hurts behind for the greater good of the relationship. It is also very valuable to remember one thing. If you didn't crown your husband king from the day you were married, the guy hardly had a chance. He was trying to drive a car with 3 wheels missing, scraping along noiselessly, throwing off sparks. Maybe it will be easier to forgive him by understanding that he was doing whatever he could just to survive without the oxygen that he desperately needs in this world to be respected by you. Okay. The good news is that this gets us out of a downward spiral of putting our husband down, which likely makes him retaliate in kind. When someone doesn't live up to our expectations, this pattern of putting each other down is predictable, but it results in the opposite of what you most desire. Building your husband up is what is desired by Hashem, both for your husband's benefit and most especially for yours. Hashem will help you in this difficult but worthy mission. Perhaps it will take a while, but in the end, you will, Emir Hashem, have what you have always most desired, a husband who thoroughly cherishes you and adores you and cleaves to you with his whole heart. Okay. Wow, lots to go over here. Okay,
what a chapter. I feel like we need to reread that one more time.
Yeah,
There's a lot to take in.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, it's a little long here, but we have to do that. Otherwise, we're not going to end the chapter.
A lot of valuable information. So if you have the book, read it over if you don't get the book. Okay, but here are the questions that came in for this chapter. So Alana's asking, how do we not feel diminished if we always do what our husband wants and we relinquish all our control to him? I can't help but feel that this would make me feel less significant than him.
What was the start of that question?
How do we not feel diminished if we always do what our husband wants and we relinquish control?
So the question I have to ask you is what problem do you have with feeling diminished? Why is that a problem? Why is it a problem for you to feel less than? Why is that a problem? You want me to tell you why that's a problem? That's a problem because for the last 70 years, we've been told that we're equal and equality is the most important thing, superior, that's what we've been told. So the truth is that, equality in the workplace, I get it. Equality at the house makes no sense. There has to be a king of the house. Right. There has to be one ruler. If there's two rulers in the house, you have constant fight, where's my punching? Constant battles. OK, when you have two kings in the house. OK, there has to be one king. And guess what? Sorry, ladies, it ain't us. OK, now, what does that mean? Does that mean it's a little bit like, a child saying, I wish, I was good at piano. My sister's good at piano. I'm like, well, you just, you try and you try and you try and you just don't have the tone. You don't have the whatever, and a kid can feel terrible for years about not being good at piano, which is totally ridiculous. That's not what they were put in the world for, and their sister who's talented at it and has a natural ability at it, that everyone has different gifts. Well, men and women are different. Sorry, I hope this is not too politically incorrect, but men and women are different. We know this from Chazal. This is in our Torah, okay? And the beauty is that when a woman embraces her spot, which ain't the king, she's the queen, okay? When a woman fully embraces being the queen, she loves being the queen. If the queen is by society is that's number two in command. No, you want to be number one in command. Hello, right? Why are you, being insignificant? Why are you being less than? Well, it's kind of like if you have two engineers and one's doing the loop-de-loops and the other's doing the whatever, they're both important and they're equally important. So look, you can be upset that you're number two in command, or you can relish the job of being number two in command. And all of the, it's the difference we say between being in control and being influencer. An influencer has as much or if not more power than, it's not about power, it's about control. Okay. And then the captain of the ship. The captain of the ship, if the navigator says, we need to go left, he'll go. So our view of what a queen is very warped. And I think once you start to embrace how pleasurable it can be to be a queen and to influence and to let go of the stress. Do you know how stressed out women are today? You know how crazy stressed, like beyond, like their stomach is clenched up most of the day, or whatever, or it goes into their shoulders or whatever. Total stress. Why? Because they feel like they need to micromanage everything and control everything. Once a woman gives that up and just says, okay, I'm going to respect my husband. Let him have the control. Let him have it, It's like it's off her shoulders. She can relax. She can have a cup of tea without feeling guilty about it. So there's a lot in it for you. It's a long process. It's not going to be overnight, but in a week or two or three, you can actually see some big shifts. If you make those shifts and let him make more decisions and let him have more control, you're going to see your stress level go down and you'll be walking into different way. You'll see your husband's going to be stronger. He's going to be listen to you more. He's going to ask you. And that might take a while. That's actually a secondary phase where they get to the place where they have so much control and so much power and feel so good about how they're leading their life and running the home, running the. If a man feels like he isn't in control of his wife, he feels like he can't control anything in his life. I mean, he can't do a business deal. He can't do it. But if he feels like his wife listens to him, wants to know what he says, wants to take his advice, the man becomes stronger. And then phase two is he starts saying, what do you think we should do about this? And what are your thoughts on that? Okay. Try this at home. It's guaranteed. Okay. This is how God created us and created women, created men. This is how he created us. And it's guaranteed. This is how Hashem ran the world, created the world. And you got to try this at home to witness how it can positively affect your day-to-day life. Good luck with it. Let me know, info@ladiestalkshow.com, and let me know if you've had some successes. I'm getting emails about that kind of thing, and always gives me a chizuk because I'm a full-time volunteer. I think you all know that. And so that's my payment, is just hearing that you have success stories. So keep it up. I love the emails. Thank you. Okay, sorry, Gila, what do you got next for us?
Okay, Layla's asking, I'm good at treating my husband like a king, but I don't think my husband views me as his queen. To be fair, I'm not a very queen-like person. I'm snappy and grumpy. Is it better to focus on treating him like a king or making myself more queen-like? I'm not sure I have the mental energy for both.
Only do treating him like a king. Leave yourself out of it. Okay. It's better if you're grumpy to be a little less grumpy. Don't say, oh, I'm not grumpy anymore. But that is a goal that's crazy, crazy. Nobody could do that. Speaking from experience. No, that's way in the too hard basket. But too hard basket. Someone asked me, what is a too hard basket? It's a basket of stuff that's just too hard to do. So that's in the too hard basket. Okay. So what you have to do is you have to focus on treating him like a king. Don't worry about your own character traits and growing yourself to be this great, wonderful person or whatever. That'll come in time, especially if you have a husband who is loving you and cleaving to you and supporting you because you're giving him the respect he desperately needs, ladies. Desperately. He needs that respect. You withholding it from him is mean. I'm going to say that again. You withholding respect from your husband is a mean thing to do. You shouldn't do it. It's mean. It's like if your kid grabbed a toy away from another kid, you would say, that's mean. Don't do that. Maybe you wouldn't say that's mean. Maybe you say, that wasn't nice behavior, sweetheart. Where, never mind, modern childbearing techniques, but whatever. You would think in your head, that's mean. When you withhold respect from your husband, that is an act of unkindness to your husband. That's how desperate he needs to be respected. Work on it. Good for you. I hear. Work on that. The other hopefully will come in time. Good question, and pace yourself. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Shoshana's asking, my husband finds it weird when I'm too respectful. He prefers our relationship to be more like best friends and more jokey. How do I respect him in this kind of situation?
So respect isn't like you have to say, oh, yes, dear, and jump up on, when he walks in the room, whatever. Respect is listening to his opinions, following his advice, following his decisions, even if you don't agree with them. If he says something to a kid, you're not turning to say, why did you say it that way? You're respecting him. You're like, oh, if he said it that way, it must have been needed to be said that way. So it doesn't really have to do with joking, not joking. It's not a personality trait. It's the character. It's how you're reacting to who he is and looking up to him for who he is, not belittling him, putting him down, devaluating his opinion. You're validating him all the time. And that's what respect is. That's the core of it. Excellent question.
Even laughing at his jokes, that's respecting him.
That's exactly 100%. Yeah, we covered that last 2 shows ago. That's exactly right. Okay.
So Yali's asking, I don't even realize when I'm knocking my husband down. My husband just tells me time to time that he feels this way and feels disrespected a lot in our marriage. How can I work on improving when I don't even notice when I'm acting disrespectful?
Very good. So I would make a list of 10 new actions that you're going to take starting today to show your husband respect. the ones where you think you didn't realize you were not respecting him, try and figure that out and do the self-analysis and introspection and ask him, maybe he puts up 5 hands and says, that's disrespectful. He gives you little hand signals or whatever. That's going to be like this long, boring process. Okay. But if you pick 10 things you are going to do from now on and just go get into action. This actually isn't Leah Richheimer's great idea. This is like the Musser movement. There's Rev Salanter, Rev Yerucham, Rev Volbe. This is the whole drive of creating yourself to be who you want to be. And that's through actions. They get into you do the actions and it'll go into your heart. It's much the same as if you're in a really bad mood and you smile, you'll turn yourself into a good mood. So the 10 things might be, that you're going to greet him at the door, that you're going to not interrupt him, that you're going to laugh at his jokes, that you're going to, if he says something to the kids he speaks to the kids in a way that you don't like, he's too harsh, he's too mean, he's too frivolous, he lets them have candy, you're going to zip your lip, you're going to use the duct tape. So write a list of 10 things you're going to do to show respect for your husband. Okay. And, put your phone down when he comes in the room, when he calls you, drop what you're doing and pay full attention to him. Make a list of those 10 things and start doing them. And he'll be so happy at those 10 things you're doing. He won't notice as much the other things that you can't even put your finger on. Great question. Let's go on.
Okay. This is the last question that we have time for. Raisy's saying, it's so cringe making the switch from disrespectful to respectful. Is this something that is better to do slowly until it becomes natural, or just jump in and do it even if it feels so unnatural?
Unnatural. Easy question. It's fake it till you make it. So yes, definitely just do all the actions if it feels awkward, no matter how it feels. You might start with things that are a little less awkward, like if your husband walks in the room and you take on, every time he walks in the room, I'm going to stand for him, which is an appropriate thing to do for a king. But it just feels awkward. It just feels like you're like, what are you standing for and why? Sit down, like whatever, so I wouldn't start with that one. You might get there, believe it or not, but I would start with something maybe that he doesn't notice, like fluffing his pillow before, you go into the bedroom and you brush your teeth and you fluff up his pillow. He doesn't even notice it, but it's you're treating him with respect and recognizing who he is in your life, which is the king of your world. And, it could be setting the table, setting his place setting first. It could be that when other people say something about him, you say something nice about him. Someone says, is your husband coming? And say, oh, I hope so. He's so wonderful to have around, or something. I don't know. I'm making these up, but I'm just saying that do things maybe that are a little bit less awkward, and that will lead, that will start to get the muscle tone going and start getting your muscles stronger and stronger for being able to do more and more in the respectful mode. Because you just, ladies, have to know one thing: the more you do, more respectful, the more respectful actions that you do, the closer you'll be to your husband. He'll be like a new person. You'll watch yourself building this man. It might take time, but you just keep those actions going and going and going, and you'll see miraculous results. How do I know? Both because Chazal tell us and because I've witnessed it so many times. Like the women come to me and say, Leah, tell us the truth. Did you do behind the scenes? Did you teach them? Did you have a men's class? Because my husband's treating me so much nicer than he ever has in years. He doesn't put me down. I like, what is going on? And it's from this. It's from giving him the respect that he needs, like oxygen. Okay, that's all we have time for. There's Leah Richheimer with the Ladies Talk Show. Let me give you some homework. One time this week, do one act of respect. And once you're done with it, get a journal and write down, boy, I did this for my husband. It made me, he didn't really seem to notice it, but it really made me feel like I was on the right track, or he really noticed it and he brought me flowers, or, whatever. Journal it so you can sort of chart where you're going, chart your growth as you become more and more respectful of your husband, and he treats you more and more like a queen. Naturally, you're going to be doing all this work, but he will naturally start to treat you more like a queen. And it takes time. It may take time, and depending if there's history and resentments, that's your homework for this week. Okay, this is Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show. We'll see you next show.